Hi, I'm Jennifer with Resilient Life Therapy, here with a lot of great ideas and concepts to help your life go better. So I am in the middle of making a series of videos on narcissism, and today I want to cover a big topic, and that is growing up in a family where there is a narcissistic parent. And look, there have been entire books written about this topic. It is a big one and it is complex. So I am not going to cover it in depth, but I do want to talk with you today about some of the most common dynamics that I see in families where there is a parent who is a narcissist. So I want to front load this video today a little bit and just start by saying, look, if you grew up in a family where one of your parents was narcissistic, you know how incredibly toxic and destructive they are and how hard it is to grow up in that family system. And if you have not yet figured out how to kind of, get to the other side with all of this and find a way to be at peace with this in your life, I really want to encourage you that if you work with the right person, if you find a good therapist who really understands narcissism, you really can find a way to be at much more peace. Whether you're going to stay in relationship with that parent or whether you're going to decide to not be in relationship with that parent, you really can find a way to be in a much more peaceful place with it. And if you have already crossed over to finding a way to be at much more peace, you know that it's never one and done. You continue to work on healthy boundaries and finding peace with it, but you already know that it can be done. So I wanted to front load this video with that because this is a hard topic. And I think that people who grow up with a narcissistic parent can feel really overwhelmed by it. And there's such a feeling of pervasive powerlessness. So I just want to reassure you up front that it doesn't have to feel that way. All right? But on to talking about the dynamics that I see a lot with people who grow up with a narcissistic parent. All right? So the first one is this. It is never about you. It is always about the narcissist. So I don't care if you are 2 years old and you are hungry and you are crying. If your parent is narcissistic, it was never about you. It was always about their needs in the moment. Whatever they need, that's what matters. As their child, you live to serve them. So your needs will always come second to whatever your parent needs at any given time. It is a real role reversal, right? But they train you from day one that it's always about them and their needs. And they are really, really, really good at getting you to feel guilty if you are not meeting their needs, okay? And often this can leave people with a narcissistic parent feeling like they don't know how they feel, right? They really struggle with naming their emotions. Why is this, right? Because you never got to have your own emotional experience. You really had to simply mirror whatever that narcissistic parent was feeling or thinking. If they don't like potato chips, you better not like potato chips either. If they don't like Sally, you don't like Sally. If they're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. Either that or you're at war with them. Because God help you if you decide to have your own opinion or own emotional experience about something. They don't recognize it and you will pay a price. And that brings me to the next point, which is if you are having emotional distress, you're not going to get the loving, empathic, validating parent. Your distress is going to make them angry. They don't do reciprocity. In some of the other videos, I've talked a lot about narcissists fundamentally do not know how to do reciprocity, the give and take in a relationship. It's win or lose. And so they don't have the normal empathic response. If you're in a big group of people, they may act all loving, but you know as well as I do, if you grew up with them, you're not really getting nurturing from them. Your distress will make them angry. And that brings up the next point, which is vulnerability in these families. Vulnerability with a narcissist is dangerous. Okay, I want to say that again because it's really, really important. Vulnerability with a narcissistic parent is dangerous. And I want to say it again because this is a really important point, and it's one that people who don't understand narcissism don't get. So you might be dating somebody, you might have a friend, and they don't understand why you're not having a normal relationship with your parent. Well, just go work it out with them. Just tell them it'll be fine. No, it's not, right? They don't understand it's fundamentally dangerous. And so when you have a narcissistic parent, part of the journey becomes about how you have healthy boundaries, because having a normal reciprocal relationship with them just isn't possible. So it's not going to be the prototypical parent-child relationship, right? And when you are hurt, or if they have done something terrible to you, guess what? You already know what I'm going to say, right? You're never, ever going to get validation from them. You're never going to get a real sorry. I'll talk about the sorry in just one sec. You're never going to get a real sorry. You're never going to get validation, and you're surely not going to get accountability from them. It will always be somebody else's fault, and often your fault, and they will guilt you relentlessly. If you try to get accountability from them, you're not going to get accountability. It's going to be, why are you making me feel so bad? Why are you you're not going to get accountability. So the only time you may get an apology is if they really think you're going to leave them. Then they're all sorry, right? But that is not accountability. It's never their fault. It's going to be your fault or somebody else's fault, and they're going to make you feel guilty if you try to tell them anything else, okay? So, what I just mentioned, you might get an apology if they think you're leaving them. This is a core concept. You cannot leave the narcissist. One of their core wounds is abandonment, okay? And so if you start to try to leave them, a couple of things will happen. I talked about this, I think, in the video before this one. So if you go to try to leave them, what they will do first is they will get really charming, right? They'll be nice to you, which is so awesome because you spend your life wanting them to be nice to you, right? And so this feels really good. But if you persist in abandoning them and leaving them, they will start to guilt you. And then if you really mean to leave them and they know it, they will start to rage, okay? And so as the child of a narcissist, we are so ingrained in us to have a relationship with our parents, and we so long for it. Who doesn't want that? That it's really hard to figure out how to do healthy individuation with them. And so when I say abandonment, well, abandonment really might mean anything that you're doing to do healthy individuation, like going away to college. Man, do they hate it when their kids go far away to go to college, unless maybe, you're going somewhere that, their alma mater or Harvard or something that they can brag about. But man, if you try to leave them, and I often tell kids getting ready to launch, I can't tell you how many times this has happened. Look, when you go to launch, when you go to move away to school or take that job across the country, God help you, they're gonna, all of a sudden, they're gonna have some kind of medical scare, right? They're gonna have some medical scare we all have to rush back for. It's probably gonna be amorphous and it won't turn out to be anything, but they're gonna have some medical scare. They're gonna try to pull you back in any way they can. So one of the the big tasks with individuating and sort of figuring out how to have healthy boundaries with a narcissist is figuring out how to be separate from them. And they make it brutally hard because they cannot tolerate abandonment of any kind, okay? So one of the really difficult dynamics for people who grew up with a narcissistic parent, anybody who's in a relationship with a narcissist, is that you can never be good enough for them. Their love is conditional in a very profound way, and in a way that is not supposed to be true for a parent for a child. And so it is incredibly confusing growing up with a narcissistic parent, because you know a parent is supposed to love you, but you also have this crazy experience of not being loved. And it usually manifests in this feeling of not being good enough and constantly chasing to be good enough for them, constantly chasing for the approval. And the few times you might get it, it's like you're standing in the sun and it's just enough to keep you going back to try to get it again. Or you may never get it and you just spend your life trying. Or you may go the other way and kind of go like, F you, not doing it. And you're going to spend your life in a lot of conflict with them. So families who have a narcissistic member, the whole family constellation spends their time and energy walking on eggshells, trying to keep the person calm, trying to keep them from getting upset. And if you're the child and your parent is the narcissist, you will spend your life reading the room. You get really good at reading the room and taking the temperature and very quickly adjusting. So you keep that narcissistic parent calm. And if you grew up in the narcissistic home, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're really good at reading a room without even knowing you're doing it often. Because, you know, it feels like survival depends on that, right? You just got to keep them calm. And it is really devastating to grow up in this situation. The things they do to control you are devastating. And I've talked about it in other videos, especially the video about how narcissists control you. If you haven't watched that, please go watch it. It becomes really, really important to understand the dynamics and the tricks they use to control people and keep people in line. Because the more you can start to recognize those, the less they'll be able to manipulate you, okay? But they are devastating. You know, when you have a parent who's gaslighting you, who's making you doubt your own reality, that is really messes with your mind. And one of the things I talked about in that video is something we call the emotional death penalty. And if you grew up with a narcissist, you know what I'm talking about. They will suddenly be really pissed at you and they do not talk to you. They act like you're not alive. And they can keep it up for quite a while, can't they? And there is nothing more devastating to a child than having a parent who will not acknowledge them, who will walk right past them in the hallway like they're a ghost. You know, the guilting that they do, like you just constantly feel guilty. You constantly feel like you're doing something wrong. You can never get it right. And they're very enmeshed. Again, it goes back to the narcissistic parent. Their feelings have to be your feelings. You have to mirror them at all times or be in big conflict with them. The boundaries are horrendous. They don't understand boundaries. They don't have good boundaries. The experience really is you just live to serve them. You live to keep them calm. It's not about a healthy reciprocity or give and take. So one of the things that I wish I would have put in my last video about siblings and I forgot, but this is a huge thing in narcissistic families. The narcissist will split people. They'll split family members. So what I mean by that is they'll pit family members against each other, right? There's a lot of conflict in these families, especially when you have one person who really kind of understands the narcissistic dynamic and they're very frustrated. They're trying to get other people to see it and other people aren't seeing it, or other people are like, you're causing problems, stop confronting them, just go along with the, go along, just like keep them from getting upset. They will, they'll also split by pitting people against each other. So, well, your sister said this thing, and then they'll go over here, your brother said this thing. They're really, really good at getting people triangulated and people pitted against each other. Incredibly destructive. Part of what we need to learn to do is talk to each other, not have it go through the narcissist. They're very, very good at manipulating and controlling. So they're kind of the puppet master, right? You have to learn to cut the strings. Tough work. So another dynamic that we often see is what we call the golden child. If there's more than one child in a family, they often will have a favorite, what we call the golden child. And that is kind of the kid that can do no wrong. And it may be the kid who they think best reflects them, the kid that's going out there doing amazing things, or the kid who they feel like likes them the best, or just some weird random reason that they've decided that this is the golden child. Can that change in families? It can, but a lot of times it stays consistent. And so when I talked about the splitting, if you're not the golden child, you know what that feels like. But they often will have what we call a golden child, okay? So one final dynamic, and that is hard to speak to, right? And that is that often in these families, the other parent who is not narcissistic, they also are not acting in kind of the parent role. They've picked this person for a reason. It's very hard to be married to a narcissist. And they don't act to protect the kids from the narcissist. Often, right? Because if you go up against the narcissist, you know what happens. So even the other adults in the family, even the other parent, they will not go up against the narcissist, which means you're really left unprotected. And that's a hard thing that people have to come to terms with, right? And understanding that even the other parent couldn't make it okay, because they're going to make life miserable if you try to confront them, if you try to change it. So that's a hard one. So listen, if you haven't already done the work and figured out how to come to peace, come to terms with your relationship with that narcissistic parent, find somebody who can do that work with you. It really is okay to distance yourself. You have to find a way to distance yourself, right? And you can do that and maintain a relationship with your parent. You just have to understand what it is and what healthy boundaries look like, and the price you're going to pay and how to tolerate paying that price. Or for some people, they decide to not have an active relationship. They decide to go no contact. Some people do a hybrid. If the parent is really misbehaving, and this is as an adult, right? You can't really do this when you're still in the home. But as an adult, you may decide if they're misbehaving that you're going to have no contact for a while. And then if they behave, you can have contact with them again. It's a hard thing to get to. You have to do some work to get there. And it is okay. It's important to find your way to have really healthy boundaries with them. And I want to tell you that be aware. People are not going to understand. If you have limited contact or you're not talking to your parent at the moment, or you have no contact, people are not going to, they're going to go, what's wrong with you? They're your parent. You have to make it right with them. They're your mom. They're your dad. You have to make it right, but they don't understand. You can't. They don't understand what it is and that it's never going to change. And there is no making it right. It's coming to terms. It's coming to peace with what it is. and understanding that. So listen, I know that this is a hard topic. It's a big topic. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If it was, I would love to hear your comments in the comment section down below, or any other comments you have. And please share it, and please like the video. If it helped you, it will help other people. So there are other videos in this series. You can look at the playlist on this channel for the other videos on narcissism, or they are listed in the comments section down below. And if you want to find out more about me, you can find my information in the description of this video. Sorry, the links for the other videos are also in the description of this video. You can find that information on me in the description of the video, and the link to my website, which is resilientlifetherapy.com. All right, I hope that this is helpful. And again, if you grew up with a narcissistic parent and you are still trying to figure it out, I just want to encourage you. You absolutely can find the way to get to the other side. All right, take care.